Now we begin the sessions for MOBEXX 2020 Summit. Attendees, please note that this is an open forum for discussion and you may post your questions in the Q&A box and either I or the moderator may pick them out for the consideration of the panel. Our first topic of discussion is anytime, anywhere business, role of mobile in operational efficiency. I'd like to introduce our panel of design thinkers and technologists. Our moderator, Ms. Priyanka Agrawal, co-founder, COO, and Chief Strategy Officer, Fractal Inc., linked by Isobar, who will be joined by the speakers, Santosh Shukla, CEO and co-founder, F1 Studios, Amit Vora, founder and CEO, Living Consumer and The Vift, Vipul Kedia, Chief Data and Platforms Officer, Apple. I leave the stage to you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the day 2. And I'm really excited to be here with eminent speakers like Amit, Santosh, and Vipul. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you, Vijoya, for this opportunity. So without delaying, we'll jump straight into the discussions which you all are so eager to listen to. So about this topic a little bit. So we've all heard since the lockdown, we have all heard experts say, and we have read articles which say that, these are unprecedented times and it is very volatile, uncertain, it's ambiguous for individuals and companies to react to. And I, for one, am actually reminded of, that car rear view mirror, which says that objects in this mirror are closer than they appear. So the changes which we actually anticipated 3 or 4 years down the line have actually hit us, and we were either underprepared or unprepared totally. So when the lockdown was enforced, we, for one, at Fractaling, we saw a huge shift in the conversations with our clients where we started talking about operational efficiency, remote working, enabling and empowering employees, taking care of their mental health. These were the primary concerns for companies, along with the new ways of servicing the customers without physical intervention. So because people couldn't go, but the business has to go on. So how do we actually empower the sales team to be better equipped with systems and solutions which give them anytime, anywhere access and increase their efficiency? So when Vijoya approached me for this topic, I thought that, with such a wonderful people of, who are entrepreneurs and professionals, the good starting point would be to ask them that when the lockdown was enforced, what impact did you see on your business? And, what are the challenges which you faced and how did you overcome it? I'll start with Santosh to answer this question and move on to Vipul and Amit. Santosh.
Thank you, Priyanka. Yeah, hi. Yeah. So I think, as you have rightly said, these are unprecedented times, and we have heard this. Probably for the first time in our lives, we saw a change happening across the world, right? So probably prior to this, it was maybe World War II, which we did not see. But this is only the first time that the entire world is seeing something together. So a class for change management for all of us, and the usual states, right? Initially confusion whether this will impact us or not, whether some misinformation like India may not be that impacted, we are more immune, blah, 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 right? So we were all going through those things. I certainly had some sleepless nights to understand what's happening, kept checking the global media as how some of the leading organizations are tackling it. And much before the actual lockdown was announced, we had started taking measures. So from the time we saw that it is coming in India, all the team members who were commuting via public transport, we stopped them from coming to office. And then slowly we realized, so much before the lockdown, we made it compulsory work from home for everyone. I believe we have been better prepared because of the industries that we are in, unlike some of the traditional manufacturing, etc. industries, which cannot work or retail without being physically present. So it has been less impactful for us. However, some of the lessons which we had only learned in terms of crisis. I believe for us it was the first crisis, thankfully, and things like over communicate to the team. So did an all hands. Some of the team leads were skeptics in the beginning, but now those are the leads who are very much vocal about remote and this is working. So how we coped up, I think from the time initially, I believe the sleepless nights that we had prepared us and we came out of it much faster. And in fact, we started playing on the front foot. We were in conversations of acquiring another firm. We completed that acquisition. So that happened during this lockdown itself, getting the culture assimilated. Yes, all of that. And then the other thing is in October, when I read from your story that around 20 million Indians had lost their salaries, jobs, right? So that's when I realized there's something that we can do about it. Thankfully, we had some cash in the bank. And then we brought our hiring for next year, 2021, and deployed it in October itself. We started this initiative, let's hire if we can, because I think together, if we all start being a little optimistic, that's the only way we can get out of it. So that's how we came through it. So thank you for that question.
That's fantastic, Santosh. Vipul, what about you? I mean, from your organization, from Affle's standpoint, what were the challenges and, how did y'all cope up with the whole thing?
Sure. So I think the preparation for this started at our end in February itself. And the HR teams and the admin team started preparing for how it would be in case we have to go fully virtual in working. So fairly early on, I think almost a month before the actual lockdown happened, we did a couple of mock drills where team by team initially, we asked people to work from home, tried to, sort of bring a structure to their workday. So every team was sort of given a plan that this is how you can structure your day, have these catch-ups, put in place your daily plans. So we guided people well in advance in terms of how working from home could be like, how an entire, virtual experience would be like, and how can we manage the productivity in that kind of a scenario. And then, we obviously had, a couple of mock work from homes for the entire office. And actually, we went completely on a work from home regime well before the lockdown hit. So, for almost 2 weeks before the actual lockdown, we were actually starting to work from home. And that is what gave us a lot of time to prepare. I think on the second front, it was also important to assess, how the employees would be reacting to it and what kind of things would need to be done to ensure productivity. So within the teams, we encourage the team leads to establish more one-on-one connect with the employees, to help anybody who had any concerns, to, give people time to travel back, make them comfortable, let them go to their hometowns, etc. And thankfully, that was really a good move because when the lockdown hit, travel was clamped down almost instantaneously. But we had made these arrangements well in advance. So barring a couple of cases, most of the people were comfortable and settled in a comfortable environment when actually the lockdown hit us. And I think the initial reactions were fairly positive, and universally people felt that the productivity was definitely not going down, and in many cases it was actually better because being in metros, a lot of people were spending a lot of time in commuting and daily hassles, etc. And it was more comfortable working from home. And obviously the external market conditions changed, and we'll discuss it as we go along the panel. But I think internally we were fairly well prepared, and we actually saw the overall productivity of the teams not get impacted. We were pretty much able to do whatever we were able to accomplish from being in office. And that continues to now. So, I mean, even now we are 100% work from home. We've not even tried coming back to offices because we have offices in different cities and different countries, and each country and city is showing a different pattern. So we've been continuing for almost the last 10 months now, and it's been fairly comfortable for us.
So Priyanka ma'am has disconnected, but if somebody else has a perspective to share on this, maybe they can share it while she returns.
Yeah, I guess Amit should be sharing.
Yeah, I think it will be me. You guys, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. So Living Consumer is a digital marketing agency, which, me and my partner operate. And we also have a recruitment app to match the candidates' interest and skills, what the employer is looking for based on location. So during the COVID time, we saw, just from the business perspective, during the COVID time, we saw significant drop in banking spends because most of our business comes from generating leads, either for demat accounts or saving accounts or insurance. And obviously during the COVID time, since the bank couldn't send their employees for the KYC and no eKYC was like available for all the banks, they had to significantly drop the expenditure on the marketing. So that was a hit. But on the other side, gaming, which I think we covered in day one also, we have a lot of clients on the gaming and their traffic increased and people were spending a lot of time on their applications, transacting, spending money for pleasure. And that segment grew during the COVID time. So, in the marketing side, we were a little bit able to balance because banking did do well, but gaming did extremely well. For the recruitment business, we actually saw a huge decline. Most of the companies had a hiring freeze and it remained pretty much for 4 months. I think post August, now it is coming back to the normal level. So that's pretty much it on our business front. One good thing what we did is that the moment PM Modi came on the TV to announce the lockdown, somehow we got a hunch that this is not going to be only for 3 weeks affair, but it will be more. And we have an office in Bangalore, we have an office in Mumbai, and they're all rented. So we wrote a quick email to our landlord saying that we won't be continuing, and to the housekeeping companies, so that saved cost significantly. And now the entire company is work from home.
Fantastic. I think that's very good insights, Amit. Thank you. So, Santosh, from you're running most of the projects which you're doing are enterprise level and B2B in that sense. Did you see the conversations with the clients change when the lockdown happened, and were they more inward looking? How did that work out for your company?
Yeah, so for the audience, yeah, we are an enterprise UX company. Most of our customers are some of the larger enterprises in the world. Post-COVID, we did not see much drop in terms of the projects. The ones that we were doing, thankfully, we were on anyway. These enterprises plan a little ahead, and these were some longer term projects. So those were not impacted, and especially B2B SaaS and BFSI. So in both of these sectors, we kept seeing good movement. So in B2B SaaS, it was mostly about as they say, I think it is overused now that when there is storm, fishermen go and repair their net, right? So that's what these B2B SaaS companies were doing a lot of technical debt, clearing that off, and then fixing some of their pertinent issues. And same thing in the enhancing UX part. So that was a good part. In terms of business impact, I would say some of our customers did try to renegotiate the contracts, so lowered the prices, etc. And some of them as well. So there was a cash flow crunch at their end. So I think this is like a playbook wherein they say that get as much money as you can from your customers and stop anything that is going out. So that impacted us because our customers just stopped payments. But then after 3 months, I think everything settled and now everyone is back. So did not see much impact. About your question about inward looking changes, yes, certainly. So a lot of these enterprises, the biggest change I feel is one in terms of obviously operational efficiency, ensuring that all their team members are productive. Most of these people were not prepared, as in their teams were working from physical offices, fixed landlines, and all of that. So they could not operate. So banking was impacted that way. So they were either coming to offices. But then eventually, I think everyone went through that shift. I guess infrastructure teams were the ones which worked pretty hard for all of these customers, and they had their sleepless nights. But afterwards, I think it has been smooth, and I feel we are working with one of the largest telecom majors across the globe, and they are now solving it for their resellers. And because enterprise sales was very high touch initially, and that has completely changed. In a way, it's good for us because I had to sometimes travel to Mumbai for a 10-minute meeting, and it used to take a day, right? So
Yeah.
that now the teams are very comfortable just doing it over web. So I feel it is a great equalizer for everyone, and I think it's here to stay. A lot of them are building platforms. So whoever has come out of pandemic well are now realizing that they can monetize these platforms which they built for themselves and now externalizing it. So that is a trend that we are seeing in AI world, as well as also for no code type of platforms. So a lot of that we are seeing. Platform companies are evolving.
Okay.
So that's what we have
Perfect.
seen.
Perfect. And Vipul, from your standpoint, from the advertising and media standpoint, do you think that the companies still are in the same positive note in terms of media and advertising, or they're changing conversations? You're seeing them reacting differently to advertising as such in general?
Sure. So I think at an overall level, definitely we've seen pretty good growth happen in the last couple of quarters for us. I mean, obviously there have been sectors which are impacted. So hotels, travel, etc. I think those companies are now starting to get back on their feet and come back with their spends. And obviously the major changes in their strategies, etc. would happen because consumer behavior has changed in those sectors. But obviously in verticals, like how we classify our businesses into EFGH verticals, which comprise almost 90% of our business. So whether it is entertainment, edtech, e-commerce, health tech, food tech, hyperlocal groceries, etc. I think most of the sectors after the initial sluggish period in April, when almost everything was shut down, I think they bounced back very, very strongly. What also bounced back very strongly was the entire entertainment side and of the business, and a lot of newer apps coming in, newer businesses coming in, which were targeting the customers either through short video format apps or gaming apps or verticals like that. So I think overall, the sentiment in at least digital advertising was fairly positive, and mobile was the device where a lot more time was being spent, a lot more transactions were happening, more consumers were reachable on their devices, and obviously the time spent on the mobile devices went up for all of us during this phase. So multiple businesses capitalized on that and significantly spent to enhance their user reach and to acquire those users. And overall, I think it posted a strong growth. But yes, definitely to answer your point, that have conversations changed? Definitely there is more ROI focus. It has become more difficult for companies to raise easy money, which was anyways a trend which was happening even before COVID, which just got maybe accentuated a bit. And as a result of that, I think there is more, quality has come more into focus. Everybody is looking for more transacting users, usage, retention, those kinds of benchmarks. And what we used to see that when businesses were starting, they really cared about the user numbers and not really about, how much of usage or GMVs, etc. they were driving. So definitely that has started appearing in conversations much more, and closer monitoring of the campaigns, more tracking, etc., more questioning by the advertisers. I think that has definitely started to happen. But I think it is a positive trend overall. And I see it as, a long term, in the long term, it would definitely help speed up many of the things, like what you said, that almost what we were expecting to happen in the next 2 or 3 years. I think we can see an acceleration on a lot of those parameters.
And what about the advertising budget? I'm going to ask a very direct question here. That what about the budgets for advertising in media? Have they, siphoned off into different activities, which is more inward-looking, more employee-focused, or they're still spending? Companies are still going out and spending that much on, the advertising and.
See, in our
media.
segments, obviously, we help enterprises reach out to their users. Our model is converting users for advertisers and delivering conversions. So definitely in the segments that most of the segments that we are dealing with, there has been, sustained or increased spends, and companies are looking to, acquire more and more users. But broadly speaking, obviously in certain segments, there has been a huge drop, and a lot of companies have suffered loss in revenues, etc. as well. So those budgets have definitely been impacted. But I would say that for our businesses, and where we are talking about B2C kind of advertising, and either retargeting, re-engagement, or user reach, or new user acquisition, broad stroke basis, I mean, whoever is spending has either sustained or increased their spends over the last 6 to 8 months.
Okay, that's actually encouraging for the business. So just continuing on.
So I can jump over here, Priyanka, to add a
exactly.
little bit about it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So what I see is that more and more companies are going into performance marketing rather than brand marketing. Because they really want to measure that if I'm spending $1,000 on any given week or day, how much value I'm getting, and what is my ROI, and when is my break-even period, and when will I go into profitable zone. So they are going literally into very strict KPIs. They measure all the analytics, and they ensure that companies like us, they follow this in a stringent way. 2 years back, there used to be a lot of spends just on branding, and people used to say that, okay, you know what, I just want these many eyeballs to be coming on our website, and that's pretty much it. I think those days are gone. So easy money is literally off the table, which is actually good, So, digital marketing has now become like science. It is no more complete into creative. So it's a mix of, creative and science. And that's what I feel positive about India.
So what so your company Living Consumers actually collects a lot of data, and not collects a lot of data, but has a lot of insights into how consumers are behaving, what are they consuming in terms of content and this thing. Any insights you can give our audiences in terms of the shift which might have happened because of this pandemic?
Oh, definitely.
Sure.
Go ahead, Amit.
Was it for me or Vipul?
Yeah, you start, and then Vipul can.
Okay. All right. So guys, we in Living Consumer, we do have our own product called Zena, which actually tracks a lot of personas. We don't track the user details, their usernames or email address or phone numbers, but we know their personas. What they are looking for, what they are liking, and all that kind of stuff, right? So we saw remarkable data consumption during the COVID times. Especially people were hooked on to news channels, social media, OTT platforms. And the upcoming sector which we saw was gaming. And the gaming operators are adding significant amount of MAUs every month. Although, the cost of click or the cost of impression has reduced significantly due to the increased traffic. But what we have seen recently is the cost per transaction has increased a lot. And this is basically due to the heavy loads on the servers and the network congestion. So what I feel is that, more and more company nowadays will be going to spend a lot of money into IT and infra, because, they never thought about such a surge of web traffic coming in for the transactions. The moment you log in, you need your application on the website to basically cater your needs, which were not happening during the COVID time. So even though, the traffic was coming, and it was coming at a very economical rate, but the transaction was not happening the way it used to happen before. And it's just because of the surge of traffic. Mobile data, coming back, Priyanka, to answer your question, mobile data is now not only restricted to social media and games, but also getting deeper into productivity, like managing calendar, video conferencing, I do Zoom calls on my mobile phones nowadays. I don't necessarily just, use my PC or laptop. Listening podcasts, location tracker, deliveries, it has literally become the most essential part of our lives. And I can foresee near future that, average Indian will be consuming at least 50 GB data a month. So that's what I feel. I mean, sorry, I did.
Vipul, you were saying, yeah.
No, I think a lot of points have been covered by Amit, but definitely gaming came up pretty strong. And obviously, on entertainment categories, also the traffic increased multifold. And we saw that both in terms of, the inbound bid requests and the traffic that we saw, which was coming in, and also the demand going up because a lot more people were trying to reach out to those users. More than anything, I think the influence would continue because, like I said, that the next generation of mobile users, I think, are going to be more attuned to doing more and more things on the mobile. And this 1 year has gotten everybody used to, online classes, learning, doing their businesses online. So I think for the longer run, this would have a much deeper impact on the changed consumer behaviors and, more and more things being closed on the mobile devices itself. And I think that would definitely augur well for the industry as we go ahead.
Okay, perfect. I think I have one last question for all our panelists, which is that, the trends which have changed and how people work today and how are they interacting within themselves and with the end customers has changed. What I want to know from all of you is that, what are these trends in terms of how people are operating today are here to stay, even when the lockdown lifts and even when we go back to normal. What are the trends you foresee that will continue, and we will take these learnings from 2020 and continue it for the rest of our lives? Any insights on that?
Sure. Shall I go first?
Yeah, please, Santosh.
Okay. I believe the biggest shift trend is in the mindset shift, right? A lot of traditional businesses initially felt that seeing a person working needs to be there, and I think this shift has been there, like theory X, theory Y, right? Wherein you empower, that your employees would do a good job, even if you're not looking at them, right? So I think that mindset has changed because now for some of the people, they never saw it firsthand, and this has forced everyone to see it in action. And now that mental shift has happened. Now people know that work can happen, and thankfully the collaboration tools which have come, especially in our industry. So initially we were big on Sketch, so for designing, but we completely shifted to Figma because it allows multiple designers to work on the same design together. Think of it like Google Docs, so wherein multiple people can edit the document together. So that has helped us a lot. I do not know how it would have been without that. Probably we would have had a Zoom open and then put it on a drive, etc. But then, so some of these collaboration tool, future of work technologies are here to stay. So we've seen how Microsoft Teams share has risen so much, Slack, and for us, Basecamp, wherein everyone updates what they have done towards the end of the day. I think that just one nudge which goes to everyone, wherein they mention, that's enough for us to know what's happening, right? We don't need to have everyone together in one room or in one Zoom call. So that has completely changed. As our fellow panelists have mentioned, that people are becoming more outcome driven. So I feel that the trend would shift from this per hour billing, right, wherein people are charged by the hour. That is going to change, and I believe that should change, right? So when the companies deserve to know from their agencies what is it that they would get, and agencies should be ready to put their entire cost on outcome, right? So we are willing to do that. I would want more of customers to get to that mindset. I feel that is a big one. And I think, as they say, right, future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. So we should be looking at some of these remote first companies, how they have been operating, how they have been running their businesses. And we are probably just early adopters. We are not the innovators. And we just want to ensure that, yes, we are enabling that transition to happen smooth faster. Yeah.
Amit, what about you? I mean, in terms of your organization, I always, personally, I feel that during this times, women especially had to pay motherhood penalty, so to say. I think that is, according to me, is something which might stay, because there are, whether we believe it or not, there are things which women have to do at home and manage a work-life balance in that sense. So for me, that is one trend. And, we were chatting offline. And Amit, you had some insights on that. Do you think that there is something?
Yeah. So I think post 25th March, when the complete lockdown happened, we had good trouble times in our company, because normally I get up very early and I try to work, like my work literally starts at 7, 8, but I don't bother my employees till 10 o'clock. And we were just playing phone tags. There was absolutely, now in normal scenario, you just walk to the desk of the employee and you say, hey, I just need a quick answer so that I can shoot email to the client. But it wasn't happening. And there was to and fro, back and forth. So, in a hard way, we realized that, there was no domestic help. And we had to do something. So finally, we shifted the entire company's time from noon to 6, but making sure that every employee is available online, on desk, and just a phone call away. So that made sure that, no other activity was being damaged just because people had to do their household chores. So that is what we did. Obviously, right now it's coming back to normal and people are working the normal hours from home, because domestic help has started coming. So right now I would say that, people keep saying that it's pre-COVID and COVID. I would say it was pre-COVID, and then that 4 months of stringent lockdown where you couldn't move outside, you couldn't get the supplies, you couldn't get the household. And now the normal, the way we are trying to be back in the normal life. This is post-August.
Nice.
So one of the biggest thing what I feel which has helped us, and especially me, is the entire eradication of unnecessary travel to meet a client, especially in metros like Bombay. It takes 2 hours to reach anywhere. Like literally for me, it takes half an hour just to reach the highway. Okay. And then it takes 20 minutes to go from the basement to the client's office, to go through the entire security and whatnot. And then, wait for another 20 minutes just to get the client come, just for that 10 minutes FaceTime and that milk coffee. I mean, it was unnecessary. And I really feel that, now everyone will be habituated with doing Zoom calls and Meet calls. And I think that will be a big victory to the entire industry, because we were just spending time unnecessarily.
Perfect. Vipul, what about you? What are your takeaways for the audience in terms of what is here to stay, in terms of how people operate?
I think definitely the way of doing business has changed. I mean, like when you're meeting face to face, there is a lot of, small talk and this and that, which you talk about, but now it is more focused. And what I found is that people are definitely more to the point and more professional and more mindful of the fact how much of time they are spending on calls. So personally, I found conversations to be much more succinct and direct, and being able to accomplish more when you are conducting your business virtually. So that is definitely going to stay. I don't see most of us going back 100% to working from office. I'm sure all of us are going to use the flexibility. One, very heartening change, which I'm hoping will be there in the medium term, is on the human resource front. Because so far, a lot of people, and you brought in the point of women, a lot of, women had to, compromise on their career aspirations because they had to balance work, and not, too many organizations were amenable to working from home and allowing the flexibility. I think this has taught us that, if there is a will, then things do happen. Similarly, people from tier 2 towns, etc., who may not be comfortable in traveling to the metros and seeking jobs now pretty much can work from anywhere. And we have taken some of those initiatives where, like for example, now we really don't bother who is coming in from where or what the base location is. I mean, earlier there were these notions that, okay, if we want the sales teams, then they should be only in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, or, if we want operations, that should be only in Gurgaon or things like that. But that is no longer the criteria. So the pool of talent base which will be available will be much larger. I think allowing people the flexibility to work part-time or to work as per their own schedules, or more efficiently using the virtual tools, etc., to enhance the productivity. I think all of that would definitely enhance to a great extent how the work culture evolve and how enterprises and businesses take on to this new normal and hopefully become more capable and productive as we go forward.
Perfect. I think that brings us to the conclusion of the session from our end, in the sense that from even from Fractal point of view of how we have, and it resounds of what you all have been saying, that what is here to stay is that people will be more comfortable taking remote meetings. Unnecessary travel, spending hours and hours on airport lounges will go down. And hiring, as you said, Vipul, hiring from across, even we have started hiring people from tier 2, tier 3 cities, because there is talent available, but we were restricted in our mindset, saying that how will they work if it has to work in a team environment, and if they're not there for brainstorming sessions, how will that work? So, and also the things, the new tools and technologies which have come up to support, like you can do a 30-35 member brainstorming session online was unthinkable to start with. Now it is possible, and it is working well, and people are giving more time to these tools. So it's a very, very positive and encouraging change for us as well. So with that, I will like to conclude the session. Any questions? I don't see in the Q&A any questions being raised, but anybody has to ask anything, Varun, if you can facilitate, that would really help.
There was one question about mobile transactions happening anytime, anywhere, and does it have any implications for businesses that you can transact from your mobile?
Santosh, would you want to take that one? It's in your domain completely.
Yeah. Sure. So transactions, majorly, I'm assuming it's related to finance or any transaction.
I think money transactions from anytime, anywhere.
Money transactions. Yeah. So I think fintech has, so long before COVID, India saw the best of fintech platforms being developed. In fact, Google Pay, which is used worldwide now, was conceptualized here in India. So I think we know how to operate at scale, and we also know how to keep it cost effective. So yes, and Paytm, and glad we had demonetization before COVID happened, right? So which means that people were starting to use digital payments, which increased. And with now the cash has stopped, people do not want to exchange. During COVID, we did not want to touch currency notes also, right? So everywhere we were using digital payments. I think some of the considerations which are most important are obviously, number one, if you're doing it for masses, it has to be very intuitive. So think like interfaces like WhatsApp, which work even for uneducated people. And second would be obviously making it secure. So companies like Zoom also aim under purview of security, right? Because they mentioned it was so a two-factor authorization was not there end-to-end, etc. So I believe one, from the UX standpoint, it has to be very intuitive and simple. Second, security, and third, performance. Because if you're operating financial transactions at scale, and if the payments are falling out at UPI level, that is a big turnoff, right? So in fact, so much so that Zerodha had to put warnings like please use net banking and not use UPI, etc. Sometime back I saw that. So I feel these three, if taken care of well, should be good: UX, security, and performance.
Cool.
Anyone wishes to add more to it? Yeah, those are my thoughts.
So I think with that, we can conclude the session, and we can thank you all for sharing your insights, and we'll move on.